Hey folks, welcome to our second session of Thirsty Sword Lesbians by April Kit Walsh as part of the Gauntlet Reading Club series that we're doing here in the Gauntlet, in which we'll be using Hannah Templar's CosmoKnights to inspire the fiction that we are building together. Before we jumped into things, I want to do a round of introductions for anyone watching. I'm Steven, he, him, and I'm the one currently facilitating the discussions for the reading group as well as GMing for it. I've been here on the Gauntlet for 2 years. I don't have an online presence, but I'm actually, do any of the other people here have online presences? I think we might have come upon the rare Gauntlet game where nobody can list like the Twitter where you can find them. But yes, so let's go clockwise to if you could introduce yourself and your character, and we'll start here with Puckett.
Hi there, I am Puckett. I use he, him pronouns. Stephen may not have an online presence, but fantastic book recommendations, just going to say. And today I'll be playing 5014, pronounced Sola, a robot using the, oh goodness gracious, which playbook did I wind up using? The Hollow Goddess playbook. And we will figure out a little bit more about what that means and what that looks like once we get into a little bit deeper into play.
Hi, and I'm David, use he, him pronouns, and I am playing Trace Soto, also using he, him pronouns. Trace is a knight for hire, going by the knightly name of Wolf, and yes, pilots, as I say, a sort of mobile suit type affair.
And I'm Lyra. I use she, her, or they, them pronouns, and I'm playing K. Full name Kira, full first name Kira, who uses she, her pronouns, and Kira's an escaped princess, and princess who ran away before she could be given away in these jousts, and I play. She's a nature witch in a nature witch playbook, which we've reinterpreted for this setting as kind of tiny robot witch, kind of like communes with menial AIs, makes little automatons, little bodies for them, and generally kind of regards them as kind of worthwhile beings to be around, which most people don't. So yeah, that's and yeah, she's very kind of mechanically adept, and yeah, probably kind of ship's mechanic, kind of suit repair person, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's Kay.
And this game, for anyone who is watching, is hosted through the Gauntlet. The Gauntlet is an online gaming community mostly focusing on role-playing games of the indie and OSR varieties. Besides publishing a zine called The Codex, it also puts out several podcasts about role-playing games. And of course, it organizes a gaming calendar, which this and many other games are organized through every month. The calendar is open to non-members, so feel free to jump on over there through the link below if you're interested in playing with any of the folks here tonight or any of the other fine people on the Gauntlet. Now, we've already gone through safety tools, but I do just want to mention them as reminders for folks. As always, we are using the Gauntlet's open door policy. The open door policy basically is that the real life takes precedence over games. You might end up being called away for cats, for emergencies, to answer the door, to take a to take a loaf of bread out of the oven. That all that is fine. There is no demand there that all that takes precedent. There is no demand that you stay with the game, even if you are unhappy, uncomfortable, or need to go. Feel free, if you can, leave a message in the chat, and when and if you think you might be back. But if you really can't, that's no problem. Besides that, we'll be making use of the tools of script change, the X card, and lines and veils. These are tools that we use quite often here in the Gauntlet. Most of the folks here already know them pretty well, and we went over them last session. So if anyone watching wants to know more about them, you can jump on over to that video and take a look there. But I just kind of wanted to check in. Are folks familiar with these tools and know how to bring them into play?
Thumbs up here.
Cool. And as a reminder for folks, we do this game does have the nice little bit of Thirsty Sword Lesbians has a nice little bit of at the end of session. One of the questions is, did anyone make use of the safety tools? Now, we already kind of brought this up last week, but during character creation, some stuff did come up. So we'll just be kind of rolling that over into this week as a reminder. But remember, the group is rewarded if you invoke the safety tools in the session. So this is no way taking away from people's fun. Safety tools add to everyone's fun. But yes, so where we left off last time, I realized that we had forgotten to do one last bit of character creation stuff, and then we'll jump right into play. I had actually forgotten to ask people to hand out strings. Now, strings, unlike some other games that use them, like Urban Shadows, which is basically strings, they have debt. Or Monster Hearts, where you're told to give out a particular number of strings to other characters. Strings in this game is more up to you. How much influence other people have on you is up to you, and sort of generally, if it makes sense in the fiction, give that many strings. So you can either, to each other player character, give 0, 1, or 2 strings. So we'll just go around and we'll go clockwise again, if that's okay, Puckett. And could you let us know how many strings that Trace and K have? And you can give them different numbers. You can give both 2, both 1, both 0, any combination.
Okay, and there's no questions related to this that we ask?
No, this is just we have some fiction set up for your characters already about how they know each other, whatever makes sense to you.
Alrighty. Do we also give strings to NPCs or no?
No, because I actually, as the GM, I automatically get just 3 free strings a session.
Sure thing. Okay. Well, all right, David. Let's talk about this. How many strings, based on what we established last time, do you think might make sense to have with Sola? You're muted.
I keep forgetting that StreamYard is in a browser tab rather than a pop-out, which throws me. Yes, so I think I'm probably going to give, I think, 2 strings to Sola, actually, because Sola knows little about my past. So yeah.
Okay. In that case, let's just do 2 both ways. And then Kay, I know we talked last time about how you're fascinated with Sola because, well, machine intelligence and an actual machine body, automatons. What do you think? 2 strings each way, or
definitely 2 strings that you have on me, because I think that you could get me to you could influence me quite easily. I don't know how many strings I would have on you. Maybe less.
I'm okay with it being 2 because because I see you treat automatons with respect and like they're living sentient beings. So, and also my character is all about trying to figure out what it means to be human. You're human. So, you know, I think it's fair for both humans in this to have 2 strings because, well, I'm kind of susceptible to influence, I think.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
just
a really good point.
especially by humans. Now, machines, maybe not so much, but so, okay.
So, I think for I'm going to say I have at most 1 string on you, David. At most 1 string on Trace. It's that yeah, it's either 1 or 0. I feel like it's more interesting having 1 there.
How many strings do you want to give K, Trace?
Yeah, I think 1 sounds good.
Oh, that's super interesting, because that's kind of like setting up Solar as the central character, like and that's I like that. I like the symmetry there.
And how many strings are you giving to Trace, K?
Yeah, I think one as well.
Okay.
I think that that there's a little less kind of we've got a little less influence on each other. Kind of I'm intimidated by Trace. Trace doesn't necessarily know what to make of K after I imagine after that date that I didn't realize was a date, and so it's we're a little bit kind of more careful around each other.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, and to check and just to kind of remind folks, because strings do work a little differently in this game than in other, like, say, Monster Hearts, where strings are. Besides offering, they do the usual thing that we know from, like, Monster Hearts, which is kind of the game that originated the term string. They do the well-known thing, which you can offer a string. You can spend a string to offer another character XP to do something, or to find out what it will take them to get them to do what you want, if they're an NPC. But you can also use strings to add 1 to your roll against them, or 3 if it's emotional support. Or you could spend strings to help or hinder their rolls. Those are the ones that kind of are a bit different here. So strings are kind of a mix of Monster Hearts and like the team pool in Masks, I feel like. The other interesting bit about strings here is that there's a thing called string advance. When you get 4 strings on another character, you reset to 1, and you get 3 XP immediately. So that's something to keep in mind. If you see that you like end up managing to get 3 strings on someone, you just need that 1 more, and then you're going to get a bunch of XP.
And how does XP for advances work? I didn't think I read that bit.
Oh, every 5 XP you get an advance.
Oh, fantastic. Nice and simple.
Yeah. You get XP when you roll a miss, or as a lot of characters have extra things that give you XP. If K, you could actually remind for the group what your current on that issue is. If you just remind the group what your current trials are, so that we know to aim for them.
Yes. Currently, my trials are to kiss someone dangerous, to go somewhere no person has tread before, to stick up for myself though it breaks someone's heart, and to extend kindness to someone who doesn't deserve it.
Cool. And finally, one other thing I want to remind folks is that Trace, being the bloody, has an interesting relationship to the figure someone out move. Trace benefits a lot from other people figuring him out, because that's the main way he gets to mark off questions from his victories and scars. So if you ever feel like you want to figure Trace out, don't worry. That it might hurt Trace's feelings, who knows, but it will help David get some advances for him. But cool. So I think what I want to open then is on Trace. What about the Razor's Edge do you like the most? Like, what amenity or mood does it offer that Trace enjoys?
I think it's that sort of thing where it probably has some notoriety as a hangout for for knights and the like, but it's got that mix where it's maybe not got like a hugely big reputation for that, or the reputation for it is also kind of balanced out by it also having a bit of a reputation as somewhere a bit seedy, slightly dangerous maybe, and the result of that is it's somewhere where it can kind of get the camaraderie of other knights, but without some of the public attention, as it were.
And I think as the evening is clearing out, the proprietor of the place, Jack Razor, who has had shady dealings in the past and often hires knights for less than legitimate jobs, comes over to where you're sitting. And he is a tall, rather kind of old. Yeah, he's a bit older. He's in his 50s or 60s. You would probably guess. But the thing that is most noticeable about him is that he is missing his right arm and leg each, and he's gotten prosthetics for them. They aren't the sleek modern prosthetics that one gets from if you're a member of the noble houses that Trace, being from that background, might have seen before. These are more the mining prosthetics that show up in people working hard, kind of labor-intensive work. They are big and bulky and have a kind of very rivety feel to them. But he takes a seat across from you and sets 2 glasses of whiskey down on the table and slides one over to you. Trace, mind having one on the house with me?
One on the house, eh? This already doesn't sound good to start with, but I'll take it. And he'll kind of grin.
Oh, you think so little of me, Trace. Can't 2 old veterans of the circuit have a friendly chat every now and then?
I guess so.
I wanted to say my condolences for what happened with you and Rook. Never a good sign when a knight doesn't walk out of the joust as much as it's always a risk.
Yeah, it was rough. Don't think any of us saw that coming.
So, I hate to ruin our moment, but I have a little something that might interest you, get you back into the circuit and find find a little remuneration outside of it.
Well, we probably could do with running a little side hustle at this point. Pickings have been a little slim recently. What do you have for us?
There's a big joust that's being held next system over in Yeldevi. Being hosted by the Great House Stone, showing off their wealth and whatnot. But it's not so much the joust that is of interest to me, but, well, of what House Stone might be keeping in their private offices. I have some folks that would be interested if someone were to get access to their system and find out some of their shipping logs. And, well, I know a lot of folks that aren't quite happy with House Stone that would like to target some of their freighters.
That sounds doable. I reckon. I'll check in with the others, but he'll nod and sort of finish off the drink. I reckon we can see our way to doing that.
It's the thing I like about you, Trace. Always willing to take the job and damn reliable when you do. And he throws back his shot as well. As that scene closes out, where do we see Kay on the on your ship?
Okay, I'm going to go for the classic cliche. I think we see Kay on one of those boards that mechanics use with the wheels on, kind of on her back under the engine. Kind of, I think you open, and as the camera kind of pans in a little, you just hear kind of some very creative swearing coming from underneath the engine as Kay drops a screwdriver on her head.
Where you live, you have little friends that are just always there to be found. Who is on hand to like pick up the screwdriver when you drop it?
I think that is I think that is Jojo, who is a I think maybe Jojo normally runs the some of the kind of automated comms routine for the ship, but I've kind of like reprogrammed them a little, and now they're in a little a kind of, I think it looks kind of rodent-like, kind of like chinchilla-sized kind of robot obviously cobbled together from spare parts, and just kind of picks up this screwdriver with their mouth, kind of, and hands it back to me as I put my hand out.
Cool. And I'm curious, if you want to make it now, you have the time. Did you want to awaken the wild here? Because this feels like you are communing with the time and necessary peace of mind to commune with a natural place or non-sentient creature. I mean, this is, if we're kind of expanding the meaning of a natural place here to like the engineering bay, this sounds like
yeah, I think I'll roll that, and work out what makes sense for it after I've rolled it. Let's see. We roll plus soul. Spirit, so that's 2. Six plus 2, that's an 8. Which, so I get to choose. I cleanse the place of hurt, corruption, or sickness. Alter its behavior, ecosystem, or atmosphere to one of your choosing. Make it dangerous to a certain person or creature or type of person or creature. I think based on what I've been doing, I think I'm just going to say that I have quite low stakes, but like I actually managed to get this kink that's been bothering me for kind of all the years I've owned the ship. I actually managed to get it tuned out of the system, which is going to give us like a smoother, perhaps a little bit safer ride, kind of in whatever hyperspace equivalent is in this universe.
Oh, yes. And this is a pretty low stakes situation here, so I'm not going to make it this too difficult. But I do think that you're being rather you're being rather risky with the engines. And I think that when push comes to shove and you're really revving up these engines for something big, that you're going to like actually blow things out.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And I'm wondering, Sola, do you feel the ship at all? Do you feel that this has this change that Kay's made in it?
I think right now I'm actually more curious about those unusual words that Kay uttered. And while Kay's under the engine, I kind of cock my head and say, Kay, I'm not familiar with those words. They're not in my lexicon, nor can I find them in a dictionary.
And I chuckle and say, you're probably looking in the wrong dictionary, Solar. And I pull out my my pad, my console, and kind of flick you a link to this universe's equivalent of Urban Dictionary. And check in there. Remember that these are, how to put it, they're kind of more, the literal meaning isn't what's important about these words. It's a distinct social function. If you're, they let other people know that you're frustrated or annoyed. It's kind of, it's an emotional communication. It's kind of, it doesn't, like, it's one of those cases. I think we probably talked about these sort of cases before. So it's like, oh, it's another one of those times that the literal meaning of the words is far less important than the emotional content of them.
There appear to be 17 different entries for that first word, several of them conflicting. Please, can you advise which definition is the correct one, or at least most correct for the usage of that word in this circumstance?
I do actually I feel like you have moved into doing the emotional support move here, Kay.
Yeah. Let's roll for that. Let's see how that goes. I think I am absolutely willing, though, to kind of sit there and explain okay, on these worlds, this meaning's more common, if you're this type of person, this meaning, no one ever means that, that's just a joke, and I think I'm I think I'll probably be rolling. I've forgotten the descriptions of the different stats. I can't decide whether this is heart or spirit.
Spirit is like with will or metaphysical skill.
I think this is going to be heart then. So yes, I'm rolling just 2d6. So that's an 8.
How does Sola respond to this? I mean, it sounds like Sola was pretty open to it, but
it is the case that many words are used in different circumstances, in some cases to achieve the exact opposite meaning. So this is not something that I'm unfamiliar with in human language. It's just that this is much less precise than machine language. So I update my online lexicon to reflect that this word can have a multitude of meanings depending on the time, location, inflection, usage, location in a sentence, as well as pitch and volume.
Cool. And you get to pick one. You can clear a condition, mark XP, get +1 forward, or gain insight from the GM about an obstacle facing one of you. Although I assume, there's going to be some obstacles soon, but I assume probably one of the middle two.
Okay. I'll mark XP. I feel like this reflects a growing understanding of the world, and that seems like the sort of thing that should result in XP gain for Sola.
Cool. And is this when Kay is explaining slang and swearing to Sola that Trace boards the ship?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's the sort of sound of the main entry sort of swooshing open, and Trace is going to kind of walk in. And
I like the idea that they are coming in the middle of Sola going, but what does it mean to bang someone? Surely I do not want to shoot them.
Oh, I think I'm going through all the various definitions of bang.
Yes,
I mean, for example,
okay.
I don't want them to make a loud machine-like noise, nor do I want them to make the clamor associated with, for example, dropping a wrench on a hard surface.
Oh yes, then Kay was just banging in here earlier.
And being quite loud about it as well.
I hope I'm not intruding.
I think I just excitedly say I fixed it. The seventh order, the instability in the seventh order harmonic in the right engine. I fixed it. I've been working on it for years.
Kay has also been explaining the finer points of linguistics and certain utterances and exclamations to me. For example, did you know that insert unspeakable impolite word here can mean several different things simultaneously depending on the location in the star system?
I've been called
Trace knows
that.
that.
I've got a potential job lined up for us. If the both of you are interested, House Stone have some shipping manifests. There's a joust on their homeworld soon. If we can get there and get hold of their that information from them, there's a buyer out there who'll pay for it.
And I want to ask, Kate, you're familiar with this jousting arena. It's one of the House Stone's more famous ones. What's like the kind of gimmick of House Stone's arena in Yeldevi?
I think that it is. It is. I mean, this feels a bit like cribbing from CosmoKnights, but what the hell? It's suspended in the caldera of an active volcano. Like it's if you the the huge radio telescope that collapsed a few months ago that kind of had a central instrument pod suspended. Yeah, Arecibo, that's it. Suspended from guidelines in the center. It looks like that, but on much larger scale, just kind of like suspended above the lava, so that I think the patrons can, the kind of audience can feel the heat, but not to the point that it would be dangerous for them, unless something goes wrong.
Ooh, but how do Kay and Sola respond to this proposition?
So you see me visibly blanch, and I don't think people know. I don't think we established kind of how much you both know of my background, but I'm imagining that neither of you possibly know I've kind of run away from a noble background, but you probably don't know it's House Stone, and I'm probably not ready to reveal that. And you see me kind of really kind of like obviously have. How obviously depends on how closely you're looking, but like if you're looking closely, I'll be having a kind of emotional reaction to this.
I'd like to figure someone out.
Sure. How what does it look like in the fiction? What are you doing?
Oh, I'm studying Kay's face because one of the things that I have learned from humans is that subtle micro expressions can indicate how they are truly feeling about something, regardless of whether their words align with what their face is saying as well. They have multiple means of communication, some of which are almost imperceptible.
Sure, cool. Give me a roll to figure out a person.
Alrighty, and my wit is at 2 seconds here. Flipping back over, my wit is 1, so +1. This is what happens when you have a machine intelligence. There's an 11.
So yes, you get asked 2 questions from the list below.
Okay. Right on. What are your feelings toward House Stone?
I think in a world complicated, I think there's a mixture of mostly kind of fear and not quite hatred, but kind of like, oh, I never want to see that. I never want to see anything associated with House Stone again. And also kind of underneath that, missing it a little bit. So kind of like, yeah, complicated in a word.
Okay. And then how can I get you to agree to the job?
By not revealing that you've discovered anything by keeping a secret that you've discovered things about my feelings about House Stone, because I'll agree to this. Like once it's out there that I have a connection with House Stone, then there's no sense in me agreeing to this job like I'd agree to any other. But if it remains secret, I'd agree to it to keep it secret.
Okay. So I look at you and say, Kay, are you feeling yourself? Your facial expressions appear to be complicated.
And I lie here. I don't know if there's a move for lying. But in any case, I say, oh, it's just that I was looking forward to this concert that was on in a few days, and like, of course, a job comes up just before it. Looks like I won't get the chance now.
I was going to say, if you wanted to stagger here, you could. When you suffer a staggering physical or emotional blow.
Yeah, I think I will. I think I will stagger here. And see what that. Okay, so I choose an option. I think I'm going to mark a couple of conditions because I think I'm grinning and bearing the blow.
Job is starting out at a great position here.
I think I'm frightened and guilty because I don't want to go to House Stone, but I also don't like lying to my friends.
Oh, man. Well, I mean, Trace, unless you say otherwise, Kay and Sola say they're up for it. I mean, sure, Kay's going to miss this concert, but, you know.
Well, I guess we'll try. We can always see if it looks too hot. We can pull out them, but we may as well head to the the arena anyway. We might be able to pick up something there anyway.
Cool. And I think as maybe we see the ship taking off to Yeldevi, that's where we fade out and take our first break. As we fade back in, we open on the shot of your ship landing, I assume at the docking port of this large jousting arena set above the lava's caldera. There is a faint kind of funneling of ash that flumes up around the arena, following up around the edges of the arena. And you're able to disembark from your ship into a crowd of spectators milling about, proceeding into one of the audience sections of the jousting field, as well as I think several of the competitors, several of the more like big name competitors signing autographs, chatting with nobles. And I do think, Trace, you spot one of them, I think, at about the same time that one of them spots you. It's a tall, kind of muscular black man. You know that he is Leon, who competes as Saber in the jousts. And he sees you and says, "Trace, I didn't think that you'd be showing up here. It looks like I might actually have someone entertaining to defeat."
Sorry to disappoint, Saber. I don't have a backer for this one, so I'm probably going to sit it out, but figured I'd drop by anyway, just in case anyone needs to make any substitutions.
He cocks a grin at you. "Well, that's fair. I can't say that. I'm sure that you wouldn't want to lose any more matches against me. Might run down your going rate."
Exactly. Might as well sit back and enjoy the view from
Actually,
the punter's
I'm going to
stand.
say before you respond, I think that he is explicitly, not explicitly, he is, even though he's not saying it, he is offering you a string to take a swing at him.
Ooh.
If you think that he is someone that would have influence over you.
I think he probably would, but I don't think I'm going to take him up on that at this point. I think this is kind of in Trace's kind of tolerance for banter.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a disappointment, Trace. I suppose Marigold's just gonna have to take another win off my hard work. After everything's said and done, Trace, how about you and I catch a drink or something later?
Sure thing. We'll. I'm sure there'll be something to either celebrate or commiserate one way or the other.
Does Sola disembark from the ship, or is Sola disembodied enough that they are like, I don't know, like hacking camera drones to look around or something like that?
Well, it's difficult to learn more about what it means to be an organic life form if you don't interact with them. Watching them at a remove is something that may gain information, but not insight. So I think in this case, given the throngs that I see just off the docks, I will actually disembark. But along with that comes the issue that I am very recognizable and people tend to be aware of me. And I usually will run
Yeah.
into several people who will want to talk and interact with me.
I think that it is the moment you disembark that the crowd comes around you, Sola, and you have folks. I think some from various newscasts, some just fans. Folks are asking you if you're here to compete, if this is your return to the joust, like who are you seeing, what have you been doing in your time away. Like, you are being bombarded with questions. How does Sola respond to this sort of like barrage of interactions?
One of the challenges of dealing with organic life forms is that while I can process all of their inquiries simultaneously, I cannot respond simultaneously as I could if I were dealing with machine intelligences. I can't simply fork processes to interact with multiple inquiries simultaneously. So I will hold up a hand with one finger raised, which I have learned means one moment, one at a time, similar things depending on the circumstances. And I will hope that that will quiet the questions long enough that I can actually begin to respond to them.
Yeah, I think that they start to quiet down around you. And I think that one reporter then specifically raises like a mic to you and says, "So, but what can you tell us, Sola? Are you here to return to the fight? Take the joust like you did alongside Katina?"
It has been some time. Katina is still someone that I consider to be a dear friend. I don't intend to return to the joust today. I am merely here as a spectator, or at least that is my intent. I just want to observe the jousts and try to determine whether they are still something that is congruent with my programming.
As you say that, a voice rings out over the crowd. Observe, observe. Now, that is no way to learn about something. One must be amongst it, must one not? And I think that, Kate, you recognize the voice and they haven't spotted you, but it is Lord Rudolph. Surely House Stone would be very interested to see how this AI might fare in the joust. And we would be more than willing to sponsor such a unique combatant. Perhaps you might learn something from such a novel experience as fighting truly on your own. And I am offering another string here to volunteer for the joust, Sola.
And I ponder this for about a microsecond and then just let it play out for a moment so it seems that as though I'm actually thinking, and say I would need to consult with my traveling companions before I accept such a gracious offer. Is that amenable to you?
Well, I should say that would be fair. You do not want to put your whatever team you have on too short notice.
It's more to the point that there is a shipping concern, and I need to ensure that it would not conflict.
I think his brow raises at that, and he draws a bit closer away from the crowd. And there's a bit of a scatter, because I think when everyone sees who it is that's talking to you, I think the reporters kind of part before him and scatter away. And he raises a brow at you. Shipping concern, you say?
That is my understanding. Such as my understanding is, I understand that shipping concerns are generally items that are supposed to be delivered to a certain place at or by a certain time. And I need to ensure that there are no such concerns aboard that I would need to worry about before accepting.
I see. Well, if you do take me up on the offer, I'd be very interested to find out what this shipping concern you are speaking of is.
Oh, it's nothing more than any other shipping ship does, carrying various items from one place to another.
Oh man, I feel like you're coming so close here. I feel like I have to call for a defy danger, because you're basically trying. I feel like you're trying to intrigue him without actually like divulging that you're here to rob him.
There's an 11. Okay, so with that defy danger,
he is very interested by everything you're saying.
mm-hmm.
And he says, well, that is very interesting. House Stone has a particular shipping concern itself that requires attention. If you were to take part and do well in today's game, we might be able to work something out. Something has arisen that could embarrass us quite a lot. And we'd be very interested in getting it resolved. A certain package has not reached the destination it was supposed to.
I see. So you would be looking to us to retrieve this package and ensure that it reaches its destination?
Yes, you understand me perfectly. But then you are an expert in shipping concerns.
As you say. Now, I'm curious, given the level of technology that we've been talking about, is it fair to assume that we all have like some sort of communication device, an earpiece or something?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've been broadcasting all of this to Kay and Trace, if that's okay. Is that okay with you, Stephen?
Yeah.
Okay, so they can hear everything that's been going on, should they care to listen. And I'm assuming that with me, it's not even that I have an earpiece, it's just I'm wired into the ship's communication network.
Mm-hmm.
So, anybody who wants to communicate something to me just probably pops up on a HUD or, gets speech to text or something along those lines. So, Kay, Trace, given that, do either of you have anything to offer or suggest or questions to ask? Or
I think I just send you a message with kind of shocked face emoji, be careful, exclamation mark.
So it's the emoji with the open mouth, but not the exploding head.
Yes.
Okay. And I think that actually kind of confuses me, because you're not saying what I should be careful of.
And do you respond indicating that confusion?
Oh yeah, you get the response
Yeah.
instantly.
Okay. So I think I kind of drop down into a much more explicit way of communicating and kind of bullet point kind of um, danger danger colon uh, and just kind of basically that Lord Rudolph's a very dangerous person and that this is not likely to be what it seems, but and kind of I contrast that with the opportunity of kind of getting in, and so it's and so um I finish with kind of advise continue advise continue but with caution.
And Trace, do you have anything to say about this? Like either the participating in the joust or the shipping or Lord Rudolph?
I think Trace would just say, yeah. Well, if you're up for giving the justice try, it would be good to see you back in action again. And yeah, we can probably get something out of the out of this deal with Rudolph. It might give us access or cover for whatever else we need to do.
Mm-hmm. All right. And with that in mind, I'll look at Lord Rudolph and say, I've reviewed our records, and it appears that we are not in conflict with any deliverables that need to be at a location by a certain date or time. I believe we can spare an extra day or two to participate in the joust.
Wonderful. I look forward to seeing you perform. If you have any representatives you wish to send to negotiate a contract with me, feel free. I am, you could say I have a express interest in how this will turn out.
Indeed. I will direct the ship's captain, Trace Soto, to you forthwith.
Cool.
And can I add something just at the end there?
Sure.
I think as Lord Rudolph walks away, I can't resist just using my kind of highly modified pendant, which I have. I think I smuggled it. I know I said that there was nothing on the ship that might be detected. I think I smuggled it in kind of switched off in a Faraday cage, so like there's no way it could be detected. But it could potentially be detected now at an opportune moment. But I think I use that hacking device to instruct the door that he's about to go through to kind of just kind of close on him slightly so that he has to break stride. I can't resist just messing with him slightly.
Oh yeah, that can just happen. I think there's a bit of like what are those moments where like you're at a sliding door and it's just not opening and you're just like stepping back and forth in front of it until it opens.
and then it opens when he steps back and then closes again when he steps forward, and does this a couple of times. And you see each time kind of K kind of pushing a button.
Oh, but man, that does bring us to K. I am curious. How is K responding to all this? Because you've just had a run-in with your uncle. How is, and also, like, what does Kay hope to get up to here in the run-up to the joust?
I think Kay's primary concern is not getting recognized. I think, but so I think you see Kay with an kind of even more extreme undercut than normal, and my most patched jacket, and but I do really, I'm kind of conflicted within myself, because another thing that I really want to do is find out if Araminta is here. And I say to myself, oh, if she's here, I'm just going to, like, see her. Like, I just want to, like, see her at a distance. And I think I'm kidding myself slightly. I think that, like, I'm actually kind of, I've actually been really missing my sister, and like, I'm not sure I could keep it to just that, but I'm kind of very firmly convincing myself that, oh, I'll just see her across the room. I don't know if she's here or going to be here yet, though.
Yeah, I think that as you come up into the noble area, I think that because you do have that pendant, so I think that there is a degree to which because you've hacked it, that the machinery here kind of opens way for you a little bit, because things respond to it. What kind of lavish decor is arrayed around the noble spectating area?
So, for absolutely no clear reason whatsoever, there is extraordinarily expensive carpeting. I mean, it's an open air stadium. This carpeting is open to all manner of inclement weather, sunlight, and yet it appears that they replace it after every match, just to ensure that it looks as though it's, well, understandably new. But it's pointless to put it there because it will be ruined fairly quickly.
I think as well, the where you might have like a kind of glass or perspex kind of guard up in front of the balcony. It's instead like a kind of sort of chest high wall of ice with sort of ice sculptures coming out of it at various points along the thing, which is obviously having to be kept very, very cold given the whole volcano thing going on here.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's various places where you would expect something to be automated. Let's say that there's lifts, that there's elevators that have actual human attendants, kind of entirely unnecessarily. Like their only job is to wave their hand in front of the appropriate stop of the elevator, it actually makes it more awkward and difficult to use these things. But it's just to show that that they can afford to have individually attended elevators.
Yeah, cool. And I think, let's see here. Yeah, I think as you come up into the noble area, there are nobles kind of like having with attendants like rolling little bits of ice across their forehead to keep them cool, kind of chipped off these big statues. There are people drinking, and I think you see over on one of the balconies that Prince, we haven't given the husband a name, but let's say Prince Tianshun, Tian for short is probably how you know him, is toasting with his knight, you know as Saber, on one of the balconies, attended by several of the prince's guards. You don't see though your sister around with him. But of course, the two seem to be in the middle of a conversation, and if you wanted to try to eavesdrop, that is certainly a possibility.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely trying to eavesdrop that. And I think do you want me to describe how that looks, how I attempt to eavesdrop?
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, so I think I think there's I reach into my pocket and pull out I think it looks like a golden clockwork mouse. And it looks like just the sort of thing that a noble child might have as a toy. But it's one of my automata. And I think I place this on the floor, and it scurries off towards this Saber and Prince Tian having this conversation.
They're discussing the most recent competition, the most recent joust that's upcoming, and Saber's chances of winning. And I think that's what's most interesting to you is that you overhear Saber say something like, "Oh, don't worry about it, love. You won't. I'll make certain that this one won't make her way to wed you either."
I'm going to ask, as a result of that, I think I've got an inkling already, but what are Prince Tian's feelings towards Araminta?
I think that they're pretty cool. It was never a he doesn't dislike her, but there is pretty much, this was a purely political marriage, and he is quite glad that she never showed up after the joust she was won in to be married.
Oh, wow. I presume that's implying that Prince Tian doesn't know Araminta's location. I'm going to say, how could I get Saber in this case? If I could do one question on each, how could I get Saber to reveal, or how could I find out from Saber if he knows anything about Araminta's location?
Oh man, I think you overheard that conversation earlier, and you know what the way to do it is? Get down several drinks with him after the fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think it's at that point that a young, skinny woman dressed in the outfit of one of the servers here leans in close to you and whispers into your ear, like from behind. So who exactly are you working for? Because I noticed your little spy bot.
And
And she is asking, what do you hope to get from the prince and saber?
am I compelled to answer honestly by the move?
She is able to figure it out,
Okay.
even if you do not answer honestly.
I don't think I answer honestly. I think that I am. I think I. I think I flash a. I think I flash a. I try and do a bit of social engineering, and I flash a a permit I prepared earlier, and claim that I've been hired by Prince Tian himself to do some penetration testing on his security, and I think I appreciate I appreciate the care which you're taking over this.
I think she looks down at the card and back up at you, and her eyebrow cocks a bit, and she gives a little smile. Oh, I see, of course. And she tucks it away. And I think that she leans. I should let you get back to your job. And then she gives you like a brief sort of goodbye hug. But then she says, but you really should get better forgeries. And then she gives you a little peck on the cheek and turns and walks away. And I think as that scene closes, this is a good moment to pull into our break. So we had just left off on seeing what Kay was getting up to and sneaking off into the noble viewing area. I think. Well, what I wanted to open on was actually I'm curious, does Trace have any like advice or anything he wants to like say to prep Sola for this joust that they've joined?
Yeah, I think maybe just kind of before they head off, Trace is going to say, I guess that you know all this stuff already, but you, if there's anything you want to know before going out, I know this is the first time you've done this solo. Watch out for Saber. He's good, and I'll kind of list off a couple of the tactics that he uses.
I see. There is one question that has been baffling me for some time now, Trace.
Ask away.
How do organics evacuate in their suits?
We try not to, but sometimes it happens.
So are there tubes for it? Or
In some models, but usually we don't stay in them that long.
oh, I see. So knights tend to or intend to lose before that becomes an issue.
Something like that, yeah.
I see. Thank you. That had been a question that I had been wondering about for some time. I believe I'm ready.
Good. Well, get out there and put on a show.
Put on a show. I thought that the intent was to win.
That too.
Isn't winning in the most efficient way possible the desired outcome?
Usually.
Why would one then want to put on a show when that often runs counter to winning efficiently?
Only one person can win the melee, but it's best, obviously, if you can be that person. That's where the big bucks are. But if you can't win, then just making a name for yourself is going to get you your next job. Not everyone can back a winner.
I see.
I'm just curious if any of this questioning is Sola attempting to figure Trace out.
Why not? Okay. Roll plus wit. What the hell?
Man, this is
That's 3 11s in a row.
Yeah, I know. So the thing is that Trace is special.
Okay.
We already knew that, but
Everyone's
besides asking the questions below the move for
Mhm.
figure out a person, you can also, if you go over to Trace's character keeper in the PC section, you can ask any question, any unchecked question from his victories or scars.
You have one defeat in particular that lingers with you. What were you fighting for and why did you lose?
Yeah. I think.
Oh, was it to Saber or Leon? Or
I
neither?
think. Yeah. No. I think that this was maybe I was defeated fighting against. I think this was actually fighting against. I'm just going to. I think I've forgotten what. Actually, yeah, I think maybe this was a fight against Katina back in the day, and I think that this was fighting for the hand of a. I think actually, yeah. Well, I'll say it was fighting for it was actually in a contest for one of my cousins, though obviously people weren't aware of that. And I think the reason I lost was I think that it was that I hesitated fighting against Katina, and I think that there was maybe just partly. I think it was the I kind of had the opportunity to strike her when she was distracted by someone else and didn't take it. And then she was able to obviously turn the tables on me after that, and that one still lingers because it resulted in my cousin getting married off.
Let me see. All right, and
I mean, is that the lesson that Trace wants Sola to take from that anecdote? Don't hesitate when you have the opportunity.
I'm not 100% sure it is.
Okay.
But it might be the lesson that Sola does take from it. Put it that way.
Okay.
I mean, it would have been more efficient for Trace had Trace struck, even though it is Katina.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the other question. What are your feelings towards jousts in general? I mean, do you like it? Do you support it?
Trace hates the institution, and to be honest, probably more broadly speaking, the institution of the nobility in general, but specifically the jousts. But nothing makes him feel as alive as fighting in them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Okay, that answers both of those questions then.
Cool. What I am curious to see is what does it look like as you enter the jousting field?
Do jousters get their own music?
They can if that is how you want it to be.
I mean, I feel like this is more or less the equivalent of a professional wrestling battle royale with, massive suits of armor, or at least, big suits of armor. And so I'm coming into some very, very old music, almost folk songs from the olden times, which I happen to recall because I've been browsing in various archives. And I come out to a song from a little known old folk band from Terra named Black Sabbath. And it's this heavy dirge-like plodding song that starts with a distorted voice saying, "I am Iron Man." And as you look, you can still tell it's Sola. You can still tell it is me. But one arm is now apparently a multi-jointed sword. And the other arm appears to be a particle cannon. There's a jetpack on my back, or at least something that seems like it can be used for propulsion. There are thrusters on either side at my legs and shoulders, which can be fired independently or together if I just need to move out of the way a little bit, or if I need to sidestep something entirely. But my head and face are identical. There's no helmet of sorts because, well, people would assume that my consciousness is contained in my head at their own peril.
Right. And so I think, Kate, you do see this as your attention is drawn to the jousting field by an announcer declaring, and now coming out onto the jousting field is our black horse of the dark horse of the the competition, Sola, who is, I'm told, some sort of artificial jousting construct, currently contracted in this fight by House Stone. And you see Sola coming out in this in as they are. And then I think that, and then the announcer goes through several other introductions, and then they say, but now we have the favorite of the match, Saber, from representing House Marigold. And I think that's when Saber comes out. And if everything here does have musical accompaniment, I think Saber is probably heavy metal. And like, I think Saber comes out dragging a long bladed arm along the ground as his jets fire off, pulling him into the field. And I think that there is a moment where Saber glances at you and points up the blade across at you, Sola. And I imagine that, given what we talked about this field, that there are kinds of holes, quote unquote, in the arena that are actually, because you do not actually want to toss people into a volcano, have kind of anti-grav nets in them that like catch folk that fall through, and basically, like, if you fall through, you lose. You're out. But as the melee kind of begins, I think that there are several other knights here who we are going to handle as just background noise in the fight. That whatever happens, it is sort of going to be a fight between Sola and Saber, who is the kind of actual named opponent here. That Saber, you see, clears through several knights, sending them crashing into each other and into the pit. And what is Sola's strategy during this fight?
Efficiency, of course. I want to dispatch opponents with the minimum amount of damage to either them or their armor, with a minimum amount of resource usage for me. I mean, I'm constantly calculating what's going on in these fights. I'm calculating angles, trajectories, where an opponent appears likely to land, because there is absolutely no reason to waste time, energy, or any other resource in winning this fight.
Cool. This sounds like definitely a fight role here. You're attempting to incapacitate someone with violence. Okay. And so the question here is, I think from what you're describing, it's probably grace is what you're rolling with?
I think so, because I'm not trying to do anything flashy. I'm just trying to do it quickly and efficiently. I mean, you don't spend longer sweeping a floor than you have to, do you?
Yeah, and something that's going on here, Kay, because you are part of the crowd and not taking part in the fight, you can still, if you want to introduce ways of helping, either by shouting encouragement, hacking things, stuff like that, you can spend any strings you have on Sola to aid them once they make their roll.
Sure. Can I insert one thing just for flavor now, which is I think I overhear someone maybe next to me, someone I don't know, just kind of commenting on how kind of boring Sola's fighting is, and I just kind of like lean over to them like incredulous and be like can't you see how beautiful it is? Like the way that there's not like there's nothing there's nothing extraneous, nothing it's just what's needed. Like it's I just kind of ramble ramble off and just shake my head and kind of like move kind of away from this person who's not appreciating Sola's fighting.
Cool. Awesome. And so give me this roll, Sola.
All right, and I'm rolling with wit.
Grace, but
Grace.
you literally all have nearly identical, like all your stats are the same except
for daring. And then do I add something now? Or
no, we'll see. Okay. Because you get to decide after the roll.
At least it wasn't an 11 again.
Okay, that is another 10. You are doing very well this go round, Sola. So yeah, you get to choose 3, and your opponent will choose 1 to apply to you in response.
So I choose 3, and then the remaining 1 is applied to me, or the opponent can choose any of those 4?
Any of those 4.
Okay. Alrighty, so I think I'm create an opportunity for an ally through prowess. And I don't know whether that's creating an opportunity for Soto or for Trace to steal something more efficiently because the attention's on me.
Yeah,
but
that
seems
makes
like
sense.
Okay. What about, and let me know if this works for you. What about inadvertently or accidentally flirting with Saber? Like I don't actually realize that I'm doing it. But
oh man,
you know, I say things that are.
What do you say?
That's a very large sword you have, Saber.
Okay.
I do wish to inform you that the mass of it and the size of it may be too much for you to handle. And should you wish, a smaller sword might be more beneficial in the future.
Yeah, and I think that we might work this in. What's your third option?
How do conditions work on NPCs?
NPCs either are taken out if they're like a really crummy NPC, like a mook,
right,
or they might be like in masks a more powerful NPC. In which case, they'd mark a condition just like you have, and would usually have a response based off it.
Okay. In that case, I'd like to. If I take an object from my opponent, could I take the power core from Saber's suit just by like spearing through it?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay.
Because I think that as you do that, like you like spear through Saber's suit, and I think we see kind of a little splash of blood, as I think you've also like stabbed him as well. I think that just before the suit gives out power, Saber brings his blade down into the ground of the tourney at your feet and kind of comes crashing down into you. And I think that you find like the ground is cracking underneath you, and you now have Saber's unfunctioning body weighing down you as the ground starts to crack under you and give way into the gravnet below. And I think that that's where we'll leave you for a moment, because I think that you created an opportunity over for Trace back in the back where he is meeting with Lord Rudolph. And Trace, you are as Rudolph like has invited you into the office, which I think is almost like a box seat above the entire fight. I think that Trace Soto, it's been a while, hasn't it? Not since you lost that match involving Araminta, was it? I don't believe.
I think so, yeah, that sounds about right, Lord Rudolph.
Yes. If I had known Sola was, well, working with you, I would have come to you directly. There's, business I think that, if I remember you correctly, you'd be very interested in.
Sola mentioned that you had something you needed retrieving.
Yes. I'm wondering, though, before we went any further, what are your feelings regarding my niece? And I am spending a string on you to have Trace openly state his feelings to Lord Rudolph.
Sure thing, yeah. She was a good friend once. I wouldn't say I was in love with her, but I hoped to be a good husband for her, I suppose, if such thing is possible.
Cool. And so take an XP for that. The current situation involving her is difficult. It appears that for some reason she has not made her way to House Marigold and instead went missing on transit. It's been quite an embarrassment to our house. And the current head is demanding compensation from us. Compensation I am not interested in giving.
Well, it certainly seems if they were the ones to lose her, then they can hardly blame you for that. But if she's out there somewhere, I can try and find her.
Of course. And Trace, I know that you may have difficulty believing this, but I do care about her, and I want to make certain that whatever happens, no harm comes to her as a result of whatever machinations are going on between the houses. We have lost too many of our members recently.
Well, I can assure you I won't let anything happen to her. That's if I am able to find her.
Wonderful. And I think that it's at that moment that you hear the crash of the attack, of the exchange between Sola and Saber in the field. And I think that Lord Rudolph looks out and, damn it, I had told I had told Housestone that we needed to reinforce the arena. If things break any further, the entire anti-grav field could give out. I must see to this, Trace. I'm sure that you know your way out, correct?
Of course, Lord Rudolph.
And I think that he calls for several attendants to go with him to try to fix the current breaking down anti-grav field holding up the combatants in the arena, leaving you alone here in the office. And is that when you decide to patch in K, since I don't know how good you are at hacking?
Yeah. I think I'll buzz Kay on the comms and say, I'm in the office. Anything I should be looking for?
Just look around the room so I can see what's there.
Yeah, and I think Trace will kind of do a quick step and walk around the room just to kind of show as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I think I say, don't jack into anything. The security will be too good. And I think at this point I say, kind of access the manual terminal, and I point out a kind of secondary terminal, and I give you a password. It's kind of like it's not going to get us in very far, but this should get us some of the way, and it's not at all clear how I would know this Housestone specific password. And yes, so I don't know if we want to roll to see kind of if it gets any information. I'm not sure. Kind of like maybe it just gets. Maybe it could get us something related to our mission from Zach.
Yeah, I think that there are layers of security here, and I think that your program is working overtime to get through them. And I'm wondering, could one of you give me a defy danger roll here with wit, probably?
Yeah, sure. It's my program. I think that it makes sense for me to do
Is it
that.
Jojo? Is it just Jojo was hiding in Trace's clothes this entire time?
Well, what I was thinking is that it's actually a legitimate
Okay.
or semi-legitimate program that
Mhm.
I know a backdoor into the outer layers
Right.
of security of House Stone because I am from House Stone.
Yeah, cool.
And so that's 2d6 plus 1. Oh, that is a 4.
Oh man. Yeah, and you do not have enough strings to help to get that up to a full hit. So first off, you get to take a string K.
Take a string.
I mean, not string, XP.
Oh, XP, yes.
And let's see here. What happens? I think that...
I had a suggestion if
Sure.
you... I'm maybe unbeknownst to me, the password, the kind of family password that I know is actually like it's specific to each family member, so like people can see who's logging in via this backup system. There's a tracking, so like there's now a record in the system that Kira Stone has logged into the system after many years.
I actually like that a lot. That I think works really well. I think that there's this, but there's like a bleeping. You feel like that you're almost caught by the security any number of times. And I think it's also at that moment where, unbeknownst to you, your uncle and his attendants were going down to the stadium proper through one of the hallways. And I think that there's a moment where we see him looking across the crowd and seeing your face. And I think that's when you hear him shout, "Kira? Kira, is that you?" What do you do, Kay?
I just make like I haven't heard him and kind of just turn and disappear into the crowd as if I'm going to one of the snack bars for a drink. I just turn my back and casually, not quickly, but I think you can see the sweat on my brow, though. My heart's pounding.
Yeah. And I think Trace, Kira just cuts out and are no files. Now, here's the thing. You're pretty certain you could just rip this computer out of its wall. And
great minds think alike. That was exactly my next line of thinking. Yeah, I think that's it. I think as Kira cuts out, I think there is that moment of just giving like a couple of moments thought before it's just going to like try and take this thing out of the wall. It's maybe looks for kind of a a letter opener or something to hack through the cables at the back and the like. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be a pretty job.
Oh yeah, I definitely think that there is like a voice that is saying like, "Alert, alert, alterate tampering with device is against house law. Alert, alert. And I think that is just going off as I assume you were running out with this thing under one arm.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah. Meanwhile, Sola, you are suspended in this anti-grav field, but since you're the AI, you probably are able to read what is going on in this field better than the human could.
Mhm.
You feel fluctuations in the field, like the damage that's being caused to the field to the arena floor is causing fluctuations in the field. And unless someone were to repair it or figure out a way to fix it or get people off, this field is going to give way beneath you and the other competitors. What do you do?
How many competitors are left?
I think we already established that 2 or 3 besides you and Saber were actually thrown into the field. The others are up in the arena and got out as it starts to collapse.
I see. Okay. Since I mentioned that I can use nanites to restructure matter, I'm going to let those nanites loose to start deconstructing Saber's armor and convert the particles or the molecules in his suit to particles. You reduce them to their elementary particles, which in theory I can then start directing so that they reinforce these anti-grav nets.
Cool. This is definitely a defy danger here. And you have a string on Saber now, so I should let you know. But this probably would count as something that targets him if you wanted to spend it for the role once we see what it is.
Sure.
Man.
God damn it. That's 4 11s.
No XP for Sola.
Excuse me. Yes, XP for Sola, because I asked if we could take a break.
Yeah, I know.
But no individual from failed rolls.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another 11.
Yeah, you do it with style. What does this look like?
It almost looks like Saber's armor is rusting. Like you're watching it on a video that's being fast forwarded at about 4x speed as it just crumbles. But as that happens, spectators can start to see where the field is sagging, where the anti-grav field is obviously failing, and then they watch as like these sags in the flooring start to firm up and almost restore themselves, it seems. But sure enough, within about 10 seconds, Saber's armor is, for all intents and purposes, gone. And the field, as near as anybody can tell, looks almost pristine.
Yeah. And I think that as things calm down there, I think where we end the session on is as Kira is running through the crowds down a hall. I think that you said you were kind of trying to make your way away somewhere.
Yeah, so basically just I think at this point, kind of, I'm like I've nearly been recognised. I've been caught. I've been recognised. It's all going wrong. I'm just going back to the ship and kind of going to wait there. Like that's where I'm heading towards.
As you get on and you take a moment to relax, you hear the click of a gun behind you, and it's the servant from the noble quarter. And she tosses the business card at your feet. I think we need to discuss this a little bit more, if you don't mind. And that's where I think we fade to black.
Fantastic.
And yeah, so thanks anyone who is watching us through this very disastrous, like it went so well for such a long time and then just went to total disaster in the last 5 minutes, half hour or so. So yeah, thanks everyone who's watching. I had a lot of fun here. I'll be signing us off now.